and I'll be your moderator today. Presenting for us today, we have Nicole Gump, Senior Solution Architect, and Hiran Naik, Senior Solution Architect. This session is being recorded on behalf of the Microsoft Corporation, so let's get started. Over to you, Nicole.
Thanks, Zach. As is now customary, let's begin with our riddle of the day, which is brought to you by AI via Bing Chat. So what has keys but no locks and has space but no room? You can enter, but you can't go outside. So if you think you know the answer, feel free to put it in the chat and we will reveal it at the end of the presentation. Our agenda for today includes a review of the recently updated release cadence, an overview of the net new features and enhancements across the core modules and add-in services, a deep dive on a few features that we'd like to highlight, and then, of course, some time for Q&A at the end. So let's start by reviewing the changes to our platform release cadence. For anyone who isn't familiar, we'll do a quick recap of the framework that is used to release new features. There are two main waves of features each year, with Wave 1 covering versions that go GA between April and September, and Wave 2 covers versions that go GA from October to March. That is the wave that we're in now. This reflects the high-level planning cycle that the product team uses to release new features and functionality. Within those two waves, there are a total of 4 versions released each year. This used to be 7, but we have removed 3. In line with that reduced service updates, we have changed the allowable number of updates, which may be paused, from 3 to 1. These changes are effective beginning in calendar year 2024. Let's take a look at the timeline for this wave. The first major release in this wave was 10.0.36. Then we had 10.0.37 go GA just last month in October, and we are now in the preview timeframe for the last release in this wave, which is 10.0.38. The service update availability documentation has been recently updated with the changes we discussed on the previous slide, so please bookmark this resource if you have not already. In this section, we'll cover the new features landing in the product during this wave, and Hiran is going to kick us off. So over to you, Hiran.
Thank you, Nicole. Let's start with the new features in the inventory and logistics area first. So first one is empower users with near real-time inventory insight. This is the new inventory visibility Power BI dashboard, which can be used to track inventory management, compare supply and demand portions, view the most popular and least popular products, and drive decisions about inventory risk mitigations. We have provided a link to the GitHub from where you can download this Power BI report. You can then modify the query to point it to the Dataverse where you have configured your IV service. And to view data on the Power BI report, make sure that in the IV service, you have turned on and configured the preloaded on-hand queries feature. Next, we have evaluate discrete manufacturing cost using standard cost. This is an enhancement for the global inventory accounting add-in, which enables the discrete manufacturing companies to perform parallel inventory accounting practices using the standard cost based on a single document and using multiple currencies. The next one is integrate inventory visibility with Dynamics 365 Commerce feature. This feature offers channel-side inventory availability calculation with near real-time and holistic inventory accuracy across channels and locations for the retailers. This feature now solves the previous gap for retailers who use both D365 SCM and Commerce that have relied on asynchronous methods to update inventory changes between the systems, which means that discrepancy can occur and that may cause the revenue loss or customer dissatisfaction. So with this feature, user can now query real-time inventory, post inventory reservation to inventory visibility when a customer order is created, or update the inventory reservation when order is edited. Users will also be able to revert a reservation when order is cancelled directly from the CSU powered channels. Next one is view and manage inventory with a new mobile app. This is a new mobile app that will be available for managing inventory in Dynamics 365 supply chain management. It can check on-hand stock, item availability, and batch details across legal entities and locations. This mobile app is going to replace the deprecated inventory on-hand mobile workspace. This app now provides real-time inventory details across locations and can help simplify inventory management tasks and improve the productivity of the store and the field workers. Please note that this mobile app is separate from the inventory visibility Power App. This mobile app query the on-hand data directly from the Dynamics 365 SCM. Next one we have is apply compound charges to the quotations and orders. This feature addresses the complex requirement for surcharges that certain industry have by adding support for compound surcharges and minimum surcharges for the sales quotations and sales orders. Next we have is enhanced order processing in pricing management. This feature provides enhanced functionality and improved calculation performance. If you have relatively simple pricing rules, then you can now work more efficiently by skipping the order completion process. Implementation is now easier to manage because you can roll out pricing management on a per company basis. So in Dynamics 365 supply chain management, it will also provide a workspace that enables sales managers to view the impact of pricing changes and easily enable and adjust the pricing records. And the last feature we have on this is sell and price multiple items as a bundle. This product bundle features replaces the previous bundle feature that was part of the revenue recognition module and was deprecated in April 2023. For the next set of features, I will hand it over to Nicole.
Thanks, Hiren. I'll cover the manufacturing and asset management area features here. The first one is overpick materials for production orders and batch orders. This was one of our top voted ideas on the portal. This feature lets workers who use the Warehouse Management mobile app to overpick raw materials for production orders when needed. Workers are notified if they exceed the overpicking thresholds that the warehouse manager sets. The next feature is the material availability check on maintenance work orders. So supervisors can now do a material availability check for work orders. This process is relevant for organizations that want to confirm that all the required spare parts are available before workers start maintenance work. This feature uses a standard master planning run to calculate the inventory availability of all required materials. Next, we have react to last-minute changes in production. Dynamics 365 SCM now supports the flexibility needed to accommodate changes due to updated items, updated routes, added margins, or scheduling changes that are introduced to make better use of on-hand inventory. The change asset type of existing assets is exactly as described, as is the next feature, change the type of existing functional locations. Note that when you change the asset type or functional location type, the supporting data for existing assets or functional locations might not match the supporting data for the new asset type or functional location type. To cover the next area, I'll hand it back over to Hiren.
Thank you, Nicole. So I will now cover the planning, procurement, and product information management features. So first one we have is the very exciting one, demand planning app for Dynamics 365 supply chain management. This is the Microsoft next generation collaborative demand planning solution. This app is powered by best-in-class forecasting algorithms and models and offers immersive user experience. It provides intelligent reports and analytics. It will empower organizations to build an agile, resilient, and sustainable demand planning practice that's fueled by the intelligence and the collaboration. This new demand planning app provides a no-code approach to the demand modeling and planning configuration. It will provide seamless on-the-fly aggregation and disaggregation. It will also help with improved forecast accuracy with the automatic AI turning to help ensure accurate forecasting and pre-processing. It will also provide disruption readiness with the interactive and fast what-if analysis, as well as effective collaboration throughout the planning cycle and increase agility through the integrated planning and execution flow with the native integration with the supply chain management. The next one is prioritize existing supply over required BOM or RAW in the planning optimization. This feature enables make-to-order business to configure coverage groups to consider the BOM or formula versions or routes specified in the demand lines, such as sales order lines, when creating the supply, such as planned production orders. So for demand, where no BOM or formula versions or routes are specified, system will choose the currently active ones. The next one is inform vendors about when to ship the items. This feature adds a new ship date field to purchase orders, calculated according to the configured transport dates. When master planning suggests a date for placing a plan order, it will also consider the transportation day setup to help make sure the goods will arrive at your location on time. This feature is an outcome from your feedback on the ideas portal. Microsoft listened to your ideas along with the comments and votes and helped decide to add it to the product. The last feature on this one is manage compliance with export control restrictions. Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management lets you manage, track, and verify compliance with export control restrictions before you can confirm, pick, pack, ship, and invoice the sales order. You can now manage your export control policies by using a native Dataverse solution that interfaces directly with your supply chain management instance. Supply chain management then enforces the compliance with the international trade regulations by consulting your export control policies in real time. This advanced control solution provides the foundation for managing, tracking, and verifying the export compliance. You can use it both with or without supply chain management. We recently delivered a tech talk on this feature. Please refer a tech talk to learn more about this particular feature. I will again hand it back to Nicole to get us through the other features.
Great. Thanks, Hiran. I will wrap us up in this section by covering the warehouse management features. The first one is the dynamic printer selection. When this feature is used and a worker requests printing, the system selects a printer based on the current work user, warehouse, location, and/or zone. The warehouse manager can set up default printers for each work user, warehouse, location, or zone. Our next feature is operate warehouses connected to external order management systems. And this is our new warehouse management only mode solution, and we will be taking a deeper look at this in the next section. The warehouse mobile devices workspace lets you monitor the health and license status of all the handheld devices that are used in your warehouse. Next, we have automatically update documents when receiving purchase orders. So users can now run the receiving completed process to indicate that nothing more will be registered against a specific inbound load, and optionally capture a packing slip ID and document date. This is another one of our features that was highly voted on the ideas portal and has now been incorporated into the core product. Next, we have confirm serial numbers during picking. So serial confirmation allows workers who are using a mobile device to confirm that the correct serial number is being picked. We then have the work user session query range utility tool. So this is added functionality for setting up queries to help workers find specific records when they're using the warehouse management mobile app. So this is with our data inquiry feature. So for example, they would be able to filter the records by the specific warehouse that they're working in or by a particular app user. And finally, we have optimize the inbound receiving process. So the deferred receiving process lets you, for example, optimize the process of receiving shipments that include order lines for many items and/or serial numbers. It's useful for warehouse processes where different workers are responsible for the inbound receiving and the put away of the items. Please note that all of the features that Hiran and I discussed in this section are linked to their corresponding Learn articles. You will be able to click on those links when the presentation is posted with the recording. So in the next section, we're going to review the features that we'll do a deep dive on. So as you can see by the number of new features that I covered on the previous slide, we are heavily investing in the warehouse management area of the product. So in line with that, we want to highlight a few key updates in this area. So I'll start by covering the GA release of our warehouse inventory transactions framework. And I will also cover the new warehouse management only mode solution. Then Hiran will cover our recent work around performance testing with the warehouse management mobile app. And of course, we'd be remiss not to mention AI at some point during this presentation. So I will cover a Copilot scenario for SCM that's landing in this wave. So let's dive into these features. First, we have the warehouse-specific inventory transactions feature. This is now GA. This, as a reminder, is a framework change for the warehouse transactions, and it is a breaking change that decouples the warehouse inventory transactions from the invent trans table that's used by the entire application. This is how we've achieved the significant performance improvements that come with the framework change. Since this feature has been made mandatory with the GA release, you will see the corresponding settings for enabling individual warehouse scenarios, such as transfer order picking, in the warehouse management module parameters, which I have a screenshot of here on the right-hand side. As a reminder, we will be deprecating the current warehouse transaction framework, so all warehouse customers must uptake this feature. Note, however, before you panic, that the deprecation date has not yet been announced. From the date of announcement, you will typically have 1 year until it is actually deprecated. So we have made the feature mandatory. You will now see these parameters and you can start to enable them, but you will eventually have to move to this new framework. So the reference links are for the public documentation and for our Viva channel that includes recordings. So please post any questions or issues in that channel, or of course in the chat here, we can answer them for you today. So moving to our warehouse management only mode solution, the feature name, it's still on preview, is warehouse management only mode if you look for this in feature management. But you can now run all of your supply chain warehouse operations in Microsoft Dynamics 365 SCM as part of a dedicated ecosystem that easily integrates with other ERP and order management systems via new lightweight source documents of inbound and outbound shipment orders. Because these documents focus exclusively on warehouse management, they can replace multiple types of general purpose documents such as sales orders, purchase orders, and transfer orders from a pure warehouse management perspective. We presented the details of this solution in a recent tech talk, and I have linked that here in the references along with the public documentation. I will turn it over to Hiran to cover the warehouse app performance testing.
Thank you, Nicole, again. So let's review this new feature in the warehouse app task validation framework. So as you are probably aware, this framework provides ability to do the regression testing and help automate the test for the warehouse processes. But now it also has a capability where you can do a performance testing or load and volume testing for all of your warehouse processes. This framework, Warehouse App Task Validation Framework, it provides capability not only just to do unit testing from D365, but it also supports the automated regression testing within RSET. And recently, with the enhancement to this framework, where we have introduced new Warehouse App Task Execution Web Service, which will allow you to do the performance testing of your warehouse processes, not from within the Dynamics 365 SCM, from any third-party application. You can call this web service for bulk of your transactions, or you can utilize the performance testing tools such as JMeter and Azure Load Testing to do the load and volume testing of your warehouse processes. So this framework has become really powerful and give you the ability to do the regression testing, automation testing, as well as load and volume testing, so that you can really understand the performance, not from the execution perspective itself, how much time each warehouse process tasks are taking, but at the same time, you can also monitor the system performance, the CPU utilization, memory availability while you are running these parallel processes across warehouse workers using this load and volume testing. So this has become a really powerful tool for performance testing of the warehouse processes. Again, we delivered this tech talk, series of tech talks on the warehouse app task validation framework recently. I have put the link of the couple of tech talks. The third tech talk we delivered last week, so it is still being published. So it should be available with the presentation and all the details on the community website. We have also provided the link to the GitHub, where we have provided some sample code as well, which you can take as a starting point, and accordingly you can change it according to your needs, your requirements, and your data. So that's what we have for Warehouse App Task Validation Framework. I will hand it over back to Nicole.
Great. Thanks, Hiran. So of course, we have to mention the SCM Copilot scenario, which is slated to land in this wave. The name of this is Make Better Purchasing Decisions in Procure-to-Pay Processes with the Help of Copilot. So Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management uses Dynamics 365 Copilot in Procure-to-Pay Processes. Copilot provides a conversational user experience that helps purchasing agents make better purchasing decisions, such as after receiving new information or changes to purchase orders. It uses natural language to help users filter and organize the changes and suggests actions based on analysis of the downstream impact. For example, it will identify which planned downstream sales, production, or maintenance work orders won't be able to start as planned due to the changed delivery dates. The conversational experience helps users focus on the relevant changes and act efficiently. So this feature is scheduled for public preview in January of 2024. You can track the feature in the Release Planner tool, which I've included a link to at the bottom, along with the public documentation that further describes this feature. So that brings us to time for our Q&A. So let's address any questions that have been submitted in the chat. So I'll turn it over to Zach.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. This one is probably to Hiran. So what are some advantages of the new inventory mobile app over the inventory visibility Power BI app, I suppose?
Yeah, so when we announced the deprecation of all the mobile workspace in Dynamics 365 SCM, the decision was made to replace with the mobile app. So this new mobile app is purely to replace the mobile workspace. So it still goes ahead and query the inventory on-hand data against D365 SCM environment. I mean, if you have multiple sources of inventory data, I would still recommend you to go with the inventory visibility service route, because that gives you ability to store inventory on hand information across your sources, and that can become your true source. But if you do not have that scenario, if you are purely maintaining your inventory within D365 SCM and you need something mobile for the field workers where they can easily check your inventory on hand levels, then this mobile app would be very useful.
Thank you, Hiran. So Nicole, this was sort of, I think, directed to you around the new warehouse inventory transactions feature. I actually posted a link to the documentation around this. But question is, what's the suggested approach to manage breaking changes for, those warehouse inventory transactions? So can you just maybe, and like I said, I posted the link to our docs article that describes some of that tooling that we built, but maybe you could just talk quickly to kind of what's our recommendation in terms of approaching this change.
Sure. And that's a great question. And maybe we can also provide the link that's in the PowerPoint deck to the Yammer Viva channel for warehouse inventory transactions. So we do have a dedicated channel there. So since wave 1 of this year, this feature has actually been in public preview. So we were running a preview program with weekly office hours for customers who were uptaking this early to be able to enable it in the preview state, test it, provide us their feedback in the office hours directly with the engineering team that owns this change. So what you'll find in the Viva channel is recordings from some of those office hours with more technical details about what the breaking changes are, as well as just our guidance, right, about when the feature was still not mandatory, right, in the preview state. When you enabled it in feature management, there was some logic that was running to check for any customizations that you might have in the environment that would contribute, right, to issues with this breaking change. So I believe there was a separate, outside of that feature enablement, there was like a separate DLL we introduced in, I want to call it 10.0.33, maybe sometime in wave 1, where you could run it right against the code base for a particular environment to also identify any issues. So I want to be very clear. I'll kind of restate what was on the previous slide, and maybe I can quickly just jump back to that so we can all be on the same page for the purposes of the recording. So even though this has GA'd with the beginning of this wave, so that's the 10.0.36 release, and you now no longer have to go into feature management and enable it because we have made the feature mandatory, all that is doing is now lighting up these additional tabs in your warehouse management parameters. On the general tab here, you'll see that you now have both this warehouse inventory transaction mechanism, as well as below that, there's a warehouse-specific inventory transactions archival. So what that does is just enable these parameters, but they are not actually turned on, right? So part of what we talked about on this slide was that you still have to go in, even though this feature is enabled, and to actually utilize this new framework, you have to come in here and actually check these parameters, right? Enable them for any or all, right, of the scenarios where you want to start using the new framework. If, for example, you enable this for only sales orders, right, to test it, then it will start using the new framework with any new sales order transactions. So existing sales order transactions that are in process as far as warehouse work, right? This is only specific to warehouse work, will complete using the current, or now what will be the old warehouse transaction framework that is tied to the inventory transactions table. Any new transactions will start using this new framework. And kind of the opposite is true as well, right? If you come in here, if you find an issue, right? If you enable this and you're testing it and you find an issue or a change that you need to make, then you can disable this at this point in time. And the same thing is true in reverse of what I just said, right? Any existing transactions where this was enabled will finish on that new warehouse inventory transactions framework. But then any new transactions, once it's been disabled, will revert back to the old framework. So we are in a period of time here where this has just GA'd and we have not yet announced the deprecation of the old framework, where you can still do this, right? We're giving you this time and this option because we will eventually deprecate the old framework. So when that happens, these settings will go away, right? Like the warehouse inventory transactions framework will just become the default warehouse inventory transactions framework for all scenarios. So just like it is today with the existing framework, will be the new framework in the future. And again, if I didn't call it out enough, we did cover this in the deep dive of our Wave 1 Tech Talk as well. So you're also welcome to go back and watch it there. But really the reason that we did this, right, was for the significant performance improvements of the warehouse inventory transactions, and specifically when you're using tracking dimensions in your physical inventory, such as batch numbers or serial numbers, right? We used to have to tell people that it was not advised, right, or not best practice guidance to track serial numbers in your physical inventory when using warehouse management specifically, right? Because it would kind of bog down the systems with the framework to have to write a warehouse inventory transaction record for every pick, every put to a user, every pick from a user, every put to the put location. So that's 4 warehouse inventory transactions for every individual serial number for that inventory dimension. So if you have thousands of serial numbers, something small like a cell phone in a box or on a pallet, that was incredibly slow performance to move that pallet around, to pick it, or anything like that in the warehouse. So with this new warehouse inventory transactions framework, we can start to recommend that you can track your serial numbers in inventory and you will not see degraded performance like you did before with those warehouse operations. So that was a really long answer, but I think it's important that we kind of elaborate on some of those points again here because, again, this will kind of be the default framework at some point in the future, like a year plus from now, when we officially announce the deprecation of the old framework. So Zach, I hope somewhere in there I answered the original question.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nicole. Let's see. We have a question around the react to last minute changes in production. So I'm not sure if one of you wants to answer that one, but with the react to last minute changes in production, will it be possible to copy a new BOM to a scheduled production order?
That is a good question. I would say, so we're talking about this feature here, react to last minute changes in production. I would check the documentation that's linked here for like the additional details on what this feature includes. I don't know offhand. I have not tested this one myself to know if that includes the ability to copy.
So we have, again, I'm not sure we'll be able to answer this question. We have a few questions around Copilot and sort of which regions and languages it will be supported in.
Sure. Actually, so for this SCM Copilot feature that we talked about, if you reference the existing documentation that's out there for this coming feature for this wave, I believe there is a note in there, Zach, that says it is only supported for the US geo in the English language at this point in time, right? And again, this feature, the 2024 timeframe, is only the preview state as well. That's not the GA date of this feature. So that's why I also wanted to include the link to the release planner. If that's not a tool that you're using or familiar with, it is a great public view of our engineering plan, right, for the current or like very near term release of features. And it is broken down by business application. The link here will take you right to the supply chain management one, and by area, right? So the areas that we talk through in the presentation, such as inventory and logistics or manufacturing, there is a specific section just for Copilot and AI innovation. So you can add, essentially like tracks individual features by adding them to your own release plan in that tool, so that you don't have to remember exactly where it was or go in and find it every time that you access the overall release planner landing page. So it's a really great tool to utilize there. So please make sure that you track this feature in that release planner if this is something that you're looking for, when it will land, and how to get it enabled in the preview in January. So, but Zach, I do believe the documentation says just US, just English, US language at this time. And I'm not going to say that that's true for all Copilot features for other areas or other business applications across the Dynamics or Power Platform ecospace. So I know I'm being recorded, so I'll throw that caveat in there.
Okay, I have another question. Oh, can you communicate performance improvement percentages when switching over to decoupled warehouse transactions?
We don't have, I believe, specific numbers that we've published because it's very dependent, right, on kind of how you have configured your items in the system. Again, whether or not you're using those tracking dimensions in physical inventory or not, and what your current performance benchmarks are. But we've seen significant performance improvements in our own internal testing and with the customers who worked with us in the private and public previews. And by significant, I'm talking about 30% plus improvement in performance time of those warehouse inventory transactions. And I will reiterate, right? So it's not just for if you use tracking dimensions. Even if your items don't use batch or serial tracking, you will still see a performance improvement in all of these warehouse scenarios. So sales picking, replenishment, inventory movements of your like batch or serial tracked items when you enable this feature as well. It might not be as significant, right, as if you were using, say, those individual serial numbers for the reasons that I described earlier, right? The magnitude of the warehouse transactions that it was creating in the back end. You just don't have that when you're not using those dimensions, but you will still see a performance improvement. So please enable it. Please test it. Like I said, this is a great time to do it because the feature is now GA. It hasn't actually changed significantly during the public preview timeline to the GA. So it's not like we made any major updates there. It's very stable, but you do still have this opportunity now to kind of enable those individual scenarios and still disable them if there are issues that you need to address. And please report them to us if you do find issues, because we haven't had many, and we've worked with several customers at this point who are live in their production environments on this new framework.
Great. Thank you. Is there any more details we can provide on the price multiple items bundle?
Yeah, basically this is a product bundle feature which we had as part of the revenue recognition. But basically a product bundle which is consisting of parent items as well as multiple component items. So it provides you a quick way to enter the item into the sales order, and then you can explode that item and it will split the items with the parent item and the component items in the sales order lines. However, still the price would be the same as bundle, and the bundle can also be a physical item, can also be sold separately. So it's the same thing what we had earlier as part of the sales order entry process, and how you were entering the bundle items and how you were exploding it, and it was dividing into the multiple sales order lines. It's just that it's been removed from the revenue recognition module and now part of the SCM functionality.
Yeah, thanks, Kieran. I'll add that, part of the reason we pulled this out of the revenue recognition module is because that module was deprecated and moved to subscription billing. And this feature obviously didn't make sense necessarily to live in that area. It makes more sense for our supply chain management team to own this. It is, as Hiran mentioned, the same functionality that was in revenue recognition, which is now in supply chain management. However, if you are looking for actually being able to do a true kitting process through all of your logistics processes and using warehouse management in SCM, that is an enhancement of the existing feature that will be coming in future waves. But all of that full end-to-end process is not yet available with this sell and price multiple items as a bundle feature.
Thank you. Okay, we have maybe one or two more questions. We have a question around the demand planning app, just asking for a little bit more details. And I do know we have a tech talk. I'm not sure we have the actual date yet, but we do have a tech talk planned around the new demand planning app. And so we might just want to wait for that. But I guess there's a request for if there's any more details we can provide.
I do not have any further details. I don't know, Hiran, if you want to jump in here. But Zach, as you mentioned, the team that is kind of owning and supporting this does have a tech talk or maybe a series of tech talks planned on this new demand planning app. So be on the lookout for those. Hopefully you are subscribed to the Tech Talks, newsletter or subscription for the notices about the new Tech Talks as they're scheduled. So if they have not sent it out already, that should be coming shortly.
Okay, thank you. And that bundle feature, maybe going back to that bundle feature real quick, is that available on the retail commerce area?
I don't have a good answer for commerce here, and you can jump in if you.
Yeah, I'm not sure as well, but I think why wouldn't it be? It will be available for the commerce as well, right? So it's just product bundle where you can explore the items at the sales order level. So we can check and provide you the details, but my guess is that it will be available. Yes.
Yeah, again, I would say similar to what we mentioned with one of the earlier questions, feel free to review the documentation that's out there for this feature. I just don't recall offhand if it mentions anything specifically about commerce, like where you'd be able to enter that top level like parent item that includes the components in like the commerce scale unit and have that flow back into the 365, which is then, kind of exploded on the sales order lines. And then we would follow that through the fulfillment process. It feels like that's part of that enhanced functionality for SCM that will be part of our roadmap. And just keep in mind, again, this feature that's landing here in this wave is truly just the base functionality that was part of revenue recognition, which was really aimed at more the financial side, right, of capturing that parent item and the components that make it up and not the physical inventory and order fulfillment. So that's what will be coming, and that's why truly we're owning it as the SCM team.
Thank you. Okay, I think we're good in terms of the questions.
All right, great. Thanks for moderating that, Zach. So I know you've all been waiting. So before we wrap up our Tech Talk today, we're going to reveal the answer to our riddle. I don't know if anybody put a guess in the chat, but as a reminder, our question was, what has keys but no locks, has space but no room, and you can enter but you can't go outside? And this is an AI generated riddle for you today. So the answer is a keyboard. So we've got keys, we've got a space bar, we've got enter. So haha, funny joke from Bing chat for you here. So Zach, I'll turn it over to you to wrap us up.
All right.